Welcome to the Anonymous Andrew podcast. Life and the choices we make, the choices other people make. This is a podcast that explores all things as they relate to dating, romance, and relationships. Why we sometimes ignore or miss the red flags. Red flags like gaslighting, cheating, lying, psychological manipulation, mental illness, addiction, and so much more. Join me each week as we continue my journey into the modern dating world with my weekend rants, anonymous guest dating stories, and experts who share their wisdom so I can help you navigate the dating terrain. If you are new to the show or have been following me from the beginning, hold on tight for the Anonymous Andrew experience. Now on to the show. Greetings, Anonymous Andrew podcast. Life and the choices we make. And it is the day after Christmas. So I hope everybody who celebrated Christmas had a very Merry Christmas. And it is still the holidays. We still have New Year's Eve coming up in a few days. So I'm hoping everybody is safe and healthy and enjoying themselves. And today, I have an episode for you that I've been waiting to bring to you. You know, season 2 has been all about dating. And part of that dating experience is the dating apps. As you know, I have been doing a lot of research on all the dating apps while being on many of them. You know, they all started back in the mid 2000s. Match.com, eHarmony, they were all web based. You didn't have them on a smartphone. You had to log on from the computer. Today, 15, 20 years later, there are dozens and dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, depending on globally, dating apps that are downloadable. And what separates them from each other? Not much. If you look at each one of them, they all pretty much have the same algorithm, the same style. But I found one that's different, and I like it so far. It's called Filter-Off, and I was able to get the CEO and founder of this video dating app, and I'll explain that, and he'll explain what that means. So up next, my interview with Zach Schleien of Filter-Off. Enjoy, and we'll talk to you on the other side. Greetings, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Anonymous Andrew and Season 2. And I have a special treat for you tonight. I have a gentleman named Zach Schleien. Shine? Zach, say, I always screwed that up. So introduce yourself, please. Welcome.
Zach Schleien. Thanks so much for having me.
Okay. I write it down and I phonetically spell it out, and I always mess it up anyway. Zach Schleien is the co-founder and CEO of a video dating app called Filter-Off. And I'm going to stop there and hand it off to Zach. And Zach, tell us all about that.
Yeah. So first of all, thanks so much for having me on. Filter-Off, it's a video speed dating app. It's available on Android and iOS. And how it works is every day, the system sends you curated matches. And if you like any of these matches, and if they also like you, you have an opportunity to go on a video speed date with them. So the video date lasts 4 minutes in length, and you can play different icebreaker games. And it just gives you a quick, fun way to see if there's some chemistry with that person. And then once the date concludes, you could then say if you like them or not. And then if you both like one another, you could then message or hop back on a longer video speed date.
Okay. So there's no texting involved. It's strictly they see a database of so I'm a male. I'm looking for a woman. So you present me with a database of women that might match my criteria. Maybe I put in the criteria I'm looking for.
Yeah, so every day you'll be sent about 10 different women based off your criteria. And if you like any of those women and they also end up liking you, we put you into a match. You could then message, but the messaging is purely to kind of coordinate a time to video chat and have a little small talk. And then you go on to the video date. And once you do match with someone, you only have 5 days or the match expires. So I think the beauty of Filteroff is it leads to this video speed date in a really easy way.
Yeah, my experience on the dating apps, and just recently I had something interesting happen. It tends that there's two types of people. Some that like to text endlessly, like they'll just text and text and text, or you send them a text and it takes 24 hours for them to text back to you, and they don't seem to want to get off the app. They don't want to pursue it. And then there's the other ones who seem to do not want to endlessly text and they want to get off the app. But you got to be careful of those because obviously we know that if they try to push you off the app too quickly, there's something behind that. So the texting. So you're saying the texting aspect is limited. It's you pretty much just match. You say hello, and then you go right into the video.
Yeah. So again, the beauty is given that it expires within 5 days, it forces them to go on a video speed date. Because if they want to keep texting back and forth, the match just ends up expiring.
Expiring, right?
Yeah.
And so, all right. So you send me 10 women. I choose one of them, and do they have to match back with me?
Yep. She's notified, and then she has the option to like you. And if she likes you, you're entered into a match with this individual, and where you can then coordinate the time to jump on your first video speed date.
Great. So then she and I will work out a night, a day, a night, time, and all that.
Yep.
Okay, great. I think this is a great idea. It takes away so much of the either the confusion or the complication or the navigation of these dating apps. They're just so complicated. I was interviewing two women the other night, just two ordinary women in their 30s that I know, and they're done with the dating apps. They're just they've thrown their hands up and they're done. They don't know what to do. So I think something like this breaks the mold, and okay. You also have a matchmaking service. Is that separate?
Yeah. So what we noticed was a lot of people would get these matches and they're like, hey, I want more refined matches. I want people to be vetted before I speak to them. And we're like, oh, how do we make this a more personalized, a more curated experience where someone could actually even have some hand holding when it comes to like having coaching? So a lot of singles just don't know how to date effectively. And that's why we introduced this matchmaking service. So we have 2 tiers. We have a pro as well as an elite tier. The pro version gives you a matchmaker. So it works the same way. So instead of our system sending you 10 matches, it's actually a matchmaker, a human matchmaker that will be sending you the matches right to the Filteroff app. And you can review them. And if you like them, the matchmaker then will reach out on your behalf. They'll text them or email them and even call them, and they'll vet them and see if they're actually a good fit for you. So the matchmaker learns about what you like and what you don't like. And if they seem like a good fit, they'll actually then help you coordinate your video speed date. So that's the pro version. If you want more hand holding and coaching on the elite version, your matchmaker will actually provide dating coaching. They could review your bio, your photos before your first video date. They could help you in prep, after the video date, they could do a post-date analysis on how it went, what didn't work, what worked well. So it's really just like they're really just there for you to
Yeah.
be successful. So yeah, we offer different tiers. You could use this app totally for free, or you could end up hiring a matchmaker and try to have the most work with the most someone who just is on your side, getting you dates and helping you find your soulmate.
Wait a minute. You just said a word that just boggled my mind. You said the word free.
Yeah,
There's a free version of this?
that's correct. So like the basic is totally free to use. Like I think it's extremely important that any dating app, we shouldn't prevent you from finding love. However, if you want a more personalized experience, a human working for you, then there's different tiers. But yes, the basic version is totally free to use.
And it has no limits. So if I join this, just the video speed dating, if I joined, you will send me 10 matches a day or whatever it is.
That's correct.
And I will be matched. Well, the process you just explained to me.
Yeah, the first process I explained, yes, that's correct. Yeah. And if you want something where someone is reaching out on your behalf, texting for you, calling for you, setting up the dates, then you could hire a matchmaker through our platform. And this is a filter-off matchmaker.
Interesting. I'm very intrigued. I have been on 5 or 6 of the most popular dating apps in the past year. Just think of the top. I might as well just say them: eHarmony, Match, Our Time, Bumble, Hinge. The top 10, and none of them. Of course, one could argue my profile could use some work, and maybe the pictures, but. And I'm not saying I haven't talked to women. I've gone on about a dozen dates, but they just didn't go anywhere. But just like I'm finding with these 2 women I spoke to the other night and other people that I'm talking to, the dating apps are becoming saturated with too many people and complications that it's just becoming very difficult. The whole thing is, even myself, I'm like, Bumble just expired and I'm not renewing it. I'm done. I've been with Bumble 6 months and it's just whatever. I'm going off on a tangent. So this sounds like something that, because I'm one of those people that don't like endless texting. Good morning, hello, how are you? How was your day? At the end of the day, whatever. But all that small talk goes nowhere. And I want to get into the meat and potatoes, and I think, as you might agree, men are very visual creatures. So seeing somebody like I'm looking at you right now, and I can get a much better sense of what you look like than in a picture that I don't know when was taken, within the last year or the last 10 years. So I'm finding this extremely intriguing. So, okay. I see here, do you use any AI in Filteroff?
Yeah, so we do. So we use AI to provide better experiences. So we use it in a couple of different ways. So the first way, which is actually one of the ways that kind of put us up on the map, it got covered by some of the largest publications. We use AI to detect scammers. So we essentially detect a scammer. So scammers, for your audience, it's reported that some of the major dating apps, that a significant percentage are scammers, like upwards of 25 to 50%.
Yeah.
Tremendous number. We can detect these scammers. And once they're detected, we put them in what we call dark dating pool. We then introduce bots into this dark dating pool, and the bots communicate to these scammers.
Oh, I love this.
It really pisses them off.
Oh,
because the scammers are trying to scam the bots, and each bot has a different personality. So there's some bots that are very sweet, and then there's also some bots that are very angry. So they start cursing at the scammers. And what it allows for is just makes the scammers get so frustrated they just give up. Because once you delete a scammer account, they just create a new one. So this is the how we constructed this, how we built this is the most effective way to flush out scammers.
I love it. I love it. I was scammed at least once, maybe more catfished, but there was a woman who presented herself and we went on a date, but there was her partner who they were trying to, I'm guessing, steal my identity. Somehow they got my Wi-Fi password. So yeah, I fell victim to a scammer because I wasn't being smart, and I invited her back to the house, and she asked me for the Wi-Fi password, and then the next thing I know, 2 days later, somebody on my block told me that same car that was here on Sunday, because they saw her, she would go out and smoke, which I don't know why I was dating a smoker, but she went out to smoke, so they recognized her car because she would lean against it. They came to me, knocked on my door, and they said, "Hey, just to let you know that while you were at work on Wednesday, that car that was here on Sunday was sitting in front of your house for a half an hour, and there were 2 people in the car. So apparently they were, my guess is they were trying to hack into my Wi-Fi. But that's funny. The artificial intelligence interacting with the scammers. I would love to, I have RoboKiller, the app to stop robocalls, and they have Samuel L. Jackson and a couple of celebrities that will answer your calls for you, and they make fun of the robocallers, and so it's kind of the same principle, although it's not artificial intelligence, but it's like beating the scammers that they're trying to beat them at their own game. I think that's clever. That's makes me laugh. Okay, so that's built in. So what you're saying is, when I use this video dating service, the chance of me coming across a scammer is slim to none.
Yeah, so that's the beauty. And when we detect them, when a scammer joins, within 24 hours, they're already detected and put in a dark dating pool.
Yeah. And that dark dating pool is basically a database, is what you're saying.
It's like, you could think of it as like being part of the app, but it's a part of the app that regular users don't have access to. Right. So these scammers are essentially matching with each other, and they're also matching with bots.
Wow. I love it. Oh, Zach, that's just fantastic. Somebody's got to do something, and it doesn't seem like, I'm on Silver Singles, I think, and I got contacted by a woman, and right in her profile, she tries to spell out her email. You know how they cleverly they put Gmail in one spot, and they put something. It's so obvious. And I reported it to Silver Singles or whatever. I forget the name of the app. And they basically ignored me. They didn't do anything about it. And obviously, if somebody is putting their email in their profile, I would think they're trying to get you off the dating app and to email them and then begin their scam. So, okay. You have, by the way, how long has Filteroff been on the scene? How old is it?
Yeah, we launched right before the pandemic.
Oh, good timing. Wow.
It was good timing, and then it got picked up by the New York Times and the BBC, and that was really kind of the start to our growth.
So you're telling me when I finish this call with you, I can go into the Apple Store and download Filteroff and just sign up. And is there a Mac OS version, or is it just for the iOS? Do you know?
Yeah. So in terms of the registration, it has to be done through the Google Play or the Apple App Store. Once you're already registered, you could then use it on the web. You could log back in on the web, but the initial sign up is through the mobile apps.
Okay, but is there an app for the Mac desktop is what I'm asking?
No, not for the Mac desktop.
Okay, so you have to use your cell phone to download it and start it. Okay, and then
or iPad. as well. It just has to be on like the Apple,
Gotcha.
iPad or
Yeah. Okay. Well, the Mac desktop is Apple, but I know it's a different
it's a
platform. So
different, it's a
yeah,
different
yeah.
platform.
Okay. So download it on my cell phone, and then I can go use it on the web.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. And the video feature is built into the. We don't have to exchange phone numbers. We don't have to exchange emails. That's great. Okay. I think you just got a new. So if I join for free, the only next tier up is the Pro, correct?
So we do have a subscription tier, which allows you to get more dates every day, gives you boosts, gives you a way to express that you like them even more.
Okay.
And then we also have in-app purchases as well.
Okay. Like Hinge does, like you can buy roses or something.
Yeah, you
Whatever.
could buy more people that you could like that day. So the most common in-app purchase is like, I want to get more people to like, or a boost, or maybe your date is expiring. You could do an extend on that date. But the subscription gives you all of that as well.
Great. I well thought out. I have to tell you. So, in my opinion, I think it's great. I'm going to give that a shot. I don't know if I have time tonight to do the whole thing, but I think you talked me into it. Let's talk a little bit. So let's just say, for argument's sake, that you're an expert in the dating field, the digital dating field. Have you or had you worked for any of the other dating apps prior to opening up Filteroff?
No, I did run a dating blog that reviewed different dating apps and hacks for millennials. I ran that it's probably been like 10 years now. And then aside from that, I used to run Hinge's subreddit and grew that to over 40,000 people. So my experience is building that community and building that blog, as well as being an avid user of dating apps.
So I'd like to ask you a question, but I think I know what the typical answer is. Let's say that there are, and I know I have an audience that are on dating apps. What do you think? Are you hearing what I'm hearing, that the dating apps are just becoming more complicated and more cumbersome and more difficult to use? Is it the dating apps, or is it the people on the dating apps? Have you any thoughts on that?
I mean, listen, what it comes down to is dating apps are deeply flawed. And the key to unlocking that, and there's a number of reasons, and we could talk about why they're deeply flawed. And there's different issues for men and women, very different issues. But they're flawed on both sides. And they're built in a way that's extremely addicting. So it's being addicting, and it doesn't lead to often positive outcomes. And when I say a positive outcome, as in like a relationship or a partner or soulmate and potentially marriage. And the key comes down to matchmaking. And that's why, in a very curated way, the challenge with matchmaking is that the price tag is outrageous for traditional matchmakers. I mean, typically $6,000 or more a month for a matchmaker. Some I've met matchmakers, some charge $25,000 a month. And then they argue, well, I'm going to help you get married. And that's not always the case. Some are amazing, help lead to love. It's just like the average person can't afford that.
No.
So that was kind of why we introduced our matchmaking service at a fraction of the price, and why we've built and designed the app in the way we have, which is kind of lead to that video date. So it's for a number of those reasons why dating apps are deeply flawed and why people kind of are very frustrated with them.
And I want to maybe touch upon that for a second, but let me just quickly go back to the matchmaking and the cost. So I've had some matchmaking on here, and I've had some elite matchmakers interviewed, and you're right, some of them were $25,000, but she made it clear that these were for CEOs and people in the seven figures type, so $25,000 is a write-off for them in their business. They could hide it somewhere in their business. Yeah. So, but even the lower tier matchmaking at 6,000, it's a lot of money for somebody like myself. $6,000 a month is basically my income, and so that would wipe me out.
Yeah.
So we don't have to spend a lot of time on this, but give me what do you think are some of the flaws of the popular dating apps? You don't have to name any if you don't want, but
Yeah. I mean, we could talk, and I could break it down by men and women. So for men, the challenge is it's about the majority of the likes that men receive are coming from the very top percent of men. So most men are getting very few likes. Two, most men are spending a significant amount of time swiping. And it's literally like a game. It's like playing slots. It's like the next swipe right may lead to my soulmate. So it's very addicting. And they designed it that way. And Tinder is the one that designed the swipe in 2012 when it was introduced. The other challenge for men is women are being bombarded by men. So women are getting thousands of matches. So the likelihood of them seeing your match, even if they initially seeing your match, and then B, even if they already started a conversation with you, they're probably in theoretically 100 other conversations, if not more. So they may just forget about you, or maybe like that initial conversation wasn't exciting, or maybe they went for dinner and then, So
something better came along.
Yeah, exactly. They had a new match of a better looking guy, or something that he said that was funnier, or just it's also like recency bias, right? Like something new, it's shiny, even though the recency bias may literally be a day. So it's just designed to work really poorly for men, and it's also designed to work really poorly for women when it comes to being inundated. So women are just being inundated. Like oftentimes a woman who joins one of those larger dating apps, within 24 hours, they may have 2,000 likes. And I'm not joking. 2,000 likes. It's like, what do you do with 2,000 likes? And that's the other reason why matchmaking is so effective, is they could basically take that load off you. And it's like, hey, you don't have to sift through all these profiles. Like, I'll do it for you. It's like a dating concierge, just to help you find that diamond in the rough. But it's ridiculous on both sides. And it's only getting worse. And they continue to design apps in a way that continues to be very addicting, and it always feels you're one step closer to finding love.
Do you know what the percentage is? Because I have something came up the other day in talking to these two women. What the percentage is of men to women on dating apps? Are there more women versus men?
No.
You like eHarmony or Match?
Yeah. So most of the traditional dating apps, let's say Match, it's still like a Match.com. It's still uneven, but like an app like Tinder, it's been reported 80 to 90% men. So it's very male heavy. And similarly to like a Bumble or any of the major dating apps, Hinge. When it comes to matchmaking, it's usually more women than men. Right. Oftentimes women pay. And that's similarly to like going to a speed dating event. Oftentimes it's more women that attend. So it's interesting how the apps definitely attract more men than women. For us, it's 65% men, 35% women. And it also comes down this issue of like the paradox of choice, where it's like, when there's just too many options, it's just, you can't comprehend. And that's why on Filteroff, we intentionally give you a limited number every day. With your matchmaker, we send you a limited number, but they're super curated. So that's like, it's a very different way of looking at dating. And I think it's the healthiest way of dating.
So I have a question for you because I was talking to these two women the other night, and the episode will air shortly. When I subscribed to Match, eHarmony, and Our Time, and my subscription ran out, I did not re-sign up, did not resubscribe. Within a week or two or three, I started getting flooded with emails 20% off, 40% off. eHarmony is pounding me with 60% off. Come back. We'll give you 60% off. One of the women who was on the episode, she also was on another app. I think it was Match, and her subscription had ended. She wasn't getting any coupons or invites to come back with discounts. And I thought that was interesting. So my theory was that there were too many women and they were trying to get more men to come back. But now what I'm hearing from you is that it's more men on these dating apps. Why do you think that they don't? In this one woman's case, she's not being offered coupons to come back, discount codes.
Yeah, it comes down to buying behavior. Men are more likely to pay on dating apps than women.
Okay.
Yeah. So like I imagine that individual will get targeted, whether maybe retargeting on social like Facebook ads or maybe get an email at a later date, or perhaps even they will boost her profile and say lots X number of men want to date you, or vice versa. Men, they may boost the male profile just to like get them like, these are all the people that want to date you that you're missing out on. And that creates the fear of missing out. So they artificially inflate profiles to get you back on.
And they did that to me on Bumble because the day after my Bumble expired, they told me I had 4 matches all of a sudden. All week I had none. And then the day I ended, there were 4 matches. So they must have boosted my profile to get likes. And now they want me to come back and pay to see the likes.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can't say that for certain for legal reasons, but that is a strategy that a dating app could potentially take to get men back in. And I would imagine this woman, this individual, she will get marketed again, but in a less aggressive way.
Right.
And maybe and remember, the prices are often different for men and women as well on many dating apps.
No kidding.
Yeah. Many dating apps will charge a premium for men. Sometimes it's free for women because they just want to get women. Yeah. It's just, think about it as like, what it comes down to is like, they need women. And that's oftentimes, and again, not saying any dating apps do this, but that's oftentimes why they don't care about scammers, because it's like, it's these like beautiful women scammers, and like, well, it's attracting the guys that makes them want to use our app. So it's a lot of shadiness in this industry, unfortunately.
And that's what's exactly number one, why I had you on. Number two, why my season 2 is about dating, because I want to sort through all this and try to figure out. I think my goal would be at the end of season 2 would be my recommendation to the audience. What would be the best viable option to find your partner by researching all of this? You answered a question of mine. I have another question for you, but I was talking to a woman for a week. We had matched. She was a Star Trek fan, and I'm a Star Trek fan, and I commented on her, but this was on Bumble. And Bumble, you can comment on their picture. And I said, oh, I'm a Trekkie, blah, 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 something. And 3 weeks later, she finally answers me. And we go into a dialogue for 5 days, start talking about Star Trek and, the old days and whatever. And we were really hitting it off. And then she says to me, I would like to get off the dating app. I'm just not into endless texting. And I said, me too. And I gave her my number. Now I have a Google number, so I gave her my Google number. And the next morning I got a text from her saying, good morning. I hope you have a fabulous day. It has a chill. I'm in New York, so autumn is coming, and it was a little chilly. So she had commented on how chilly it was. And then this was at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I responded. I said, okay, hey, Jane, Now, by the way, I had already given her my number. So now we're on cell phones. And so the first text I got from her was this text. So I said, "Hey, Jane, if you would really like to move this along, get off the endless texting. Let's do a video this weekend. We could do Zoom." I told her I have Zoom, I have a couple of videos, or we can go back on Bumble and use Bumble's video feature. And just let me know what works for you. 1 hour later, I get a text from her. "I don't think we're a good match. Good luck." And then I got a thumbs up emoji.
Yeah, she was clearly a scammer.
Ah, you think so? Because I called her out on a video.
Okay. I mean, the challenge is scammers will never want a video chat. It's stupid, right? Because if they go on a video chat, they're going to claim my video chat doesn't work. But if they show their face, you're gonna see that they're not the person they say they are. They just want to like tie you in emotionally through text, and then they'll often be like, "Hey, I'm in a crunch. Do you mind like helping me out?" And the biggest scam is actually gift cards. Gift cards are the number one way people can get scammed. Yeah. So buying gift cards on like Amazon. So yeah, I mean, I think the feedback, whether or not you use Filteroff, is try to transition to a video chat as quickly as possible for A, to prevent scamming, and B, also to prevent bad first dates. It's really unfortunate getting to a first date where there's no chemistry and now you just perhaps spent $100 or you just spent a lot of time and you could have used that in a different way. So
the audience knows this story. Over the summer, I was chatting with a woman who was head over heels over my profile, and she couldn't wait to meet. And so we set up a date. I live by the beach, so I took her down to the boardwalk. And as soon as we get down there, all of a sudden she starts asking me about how old I am and how old my pictures are on my profile. And I sensed that this woman was fawning over me until she met me. And then everything turned around to where she was uncomfortable and couldn't wait to get out of there. And we did not do a video. So apparently, whatever pictures I had up, and they're not old pictures, they're all within the last year. Excuse me. Apparently, what she saw in the pictures, she didn't like in real life. And I think maybe we had done a video that, like you said, we could have prevented a first date fiasco. And that's what it was. It was a fiasco. It was a very awkward, uncomfortable half hour sitting on the boardwalk because clearly she didn't want to be there. So, okay. In your bio, and I this one caught my eye, and we talked about this before. Why is swiping bad for one's mental health?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of touched upon it. I mean, it was meant to be kind of like a slot machine where the next swipe right may be your soulmate. And it's just a very addicting experience. And again, it's this paradox of choice. It feels, especially if you're in a major city, it almost feels like an unlimited supply of men or women. And you're just swiping through these people that don't even feel like people, but more like at a grocery store. And again, it just leads to feeling like that the next one may be that person. And when you match with someone, it's very easy to be like, I see something that doesn't seem right. Or you go on that first date and you're not head over heels over, and you're like, I'm going to find someone else. And I mean, science shows like if you kind of like them on the first date, like if you don't not like them, do a second date. And a second date often like is super important because after the second date, you may be like, wow, I really like this person. Or you may realize, hey, they're not a good fit. But like, I mean, we're more and more impatient society. And I think we also have, so now I'm talking about a few different things. And I think a lot of people have this kind of fantasy of kind of Disney and falling in love. So there's, I think, just many issues and the dating apps and how they're designed and our society, how it's kind of the psychology behind it. It's just everything is colliding at the same time and leading to just a really crazy experience for daters right now.
I had heard somewhere in my research that the dating apps, including social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, are designed to hit that dopamine area as if you were doing a hit or crack or whatever drug of choice. It hits that same center of the brain. So yes, that swiping right or keep swiping and swiping is, or like you said, gambling. It's that I'm gonna hit my jackpot, and you get it every time you swipe. You get a dopamine hit, and it's been scientifically, I think, researched that they did MRIs in people's brains where it's lit up at the same as a drug addict or the same as an alcoholic or a gambler. So
yeah. And to add to that, you'll see a lot of individuals uninstall dating apps. They say, I've had enough. And then within a few days, they reinstall them. It's the same. It's an addiction.
The withdrawal. They go through withdrawals.
It's the exact same experience. They may feel depressed. And they also have that fear of missing out. Shoot, I'm off the apps. That next swipe right, that next match, next person that liked me, maybe my person, and I'm missing out. Let me just take a sneak peek, and they're back in it. And listen, I'm not faulting these people for doing that. It's just how these apps are designed. And that's kind of what I'm so focused on right now, is just building a better way to date in this era.
And Zach, I think you have done that, because I've heard of speed dating for years and years and years, and I just never got into it because for me, I've been a serial dater in relationship, and I've always had luck on the dating apps. But as my audience knows, I get into relationships and for the wrong reasons, and then I sabotage it or whatever, and it explodes in my face. This concept, I think, is new to me, the whole video dating, and I can't wait to try it out. So, okay, we're going to wrap it up in a few minutes, but I'd like to give you an opportunity to give us any final thoughts, comments, something about Filter-Off that we didn't get to talk about, and then tell us where we can find you.
Yeah, I mean, I think what it comes down to, and I shared this previously, is whether or not you use Filter-Off, I just highly recommend to always video date before meeting up in person. The beauty of using like an app like Filter-Off, it's a time-bound video date. So if you go on a video date on other apps, you may get stuck on there for a while. Also, the beauty with Filter-Off, you can also have the ability to hire a matchmaker for a much more curated experience, and you could even get dating coaching. You could find us on Apple App Store or Google Play Store. You can find me online as well. I'm on socials, Zach Schleien, and Filter-Off is also on all the socials as well. And if you're interested in hiring a matchmaker, you could just purchase that service right through our website, which is getfilteroff.com.
And do you have headquarters in all the major cities, or everything's just done virtually these days? There's no in-person meeting. Everything's done virtually, right?
Yeah, so the experience, we're in the major cities. We're around the world, but we're in the major cities. And then the matchmaking, you get a matchmaker, it's all virtual. If you're on the elite version, you'll have the ability to chat with them over Zoom. On the pro version, it's all done right through that.
Great. All right. Zach, I can't thank you enough. Season 2 was trying to decipher dating apps and navigate them, and I'm so happy that I found you and that you took the time out to come on and explain to us, because I learned. I had the whole concept. I thought there were more women on the dating apps, and apparently it's more men on the dating apps. And then I found out that they want more men on there than the women. It's amazing, some of the facts that you gave us. So thank you so much. And would you come back someday?
For sure. Of course.
All right. Okay, everybody. Zach Schleien, co-founder and CEO of Filter-Off dating app, available on iOS and Google Play Store.
Android. Yep.
And Android. Okay. Zach, thank you so much for joining me, and we'll talk to you soon. And I'll put all your information in the show notes. You'll send it to me later.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the time. I had a lot of fun.
Thank you. I would like to thank Zach Schleien for joining me. I am super excited about this application, this new, I keep saying new, it's been around, Filteroff. And I have already downloaded it, and I have a profile, and I am using it. And it is very interesting. And of course, one of the best perks about this dating app is that it is totally free. Of course, you can join and pay extra for more perks, but you do not need to. And you have, each day they send you 10 matches for free, and you can talk to these people. Video dating service. Check it out. I have it, and I'm using it, and I'd be interested. Listen, if you download any of these that I've been interviewing, and you have success stories, I would love to hear from you. What's going on in the dating world? I want to hear from my audience and see if you're having any luck. And wait till you hear what I have to tell you this weekend on my weekend rant. Anyway, that wraps up this episode. And of course, I'm going to ask you to stop and leave me a review. If you could take just 2 minutes, go down to the bottom of your app. And if you're on Apple, you can put 5 stars and leave a little review. If you're on Spotify, I believe now they're allowing reviews for each episode. So if you're listening on Spotify, please leave a review and tell a friend. There must be somebody you know, especially around the holiday season, who is either single or struggling in a relationship, stuck in a relationship, doesn't know how to get out. And you know, that's my story. Maybe they would benefit from this podcast. And if you're going to make a choice, if you need to make a choice, if you're in a relationship or dating somebody and you're looking to commit, I urge you to take a day or two and ask yourself, is this person the right person for me? Because I didn't do that 3 years ago. And now I have a podcast to tell you all about the misery I went through. I hope you enjoy the rest of your holiday. Look forward to the weekend rant. And until next time, ciao.